Okay, next part of this extensive review of the JR Touch 3 Quantum brushless commercial blender versus the Vitamix 750 Professional Series. As again, start each clip. If you're watching this as a snippet, there's lots of other videos in this extensive review series that you can watch as snippets, or you can watch them as the full length video, which is quite a long one, but it shows the whole extensive review comparing these two top of the range blenders. So in this particular one, we're going to be chopping an onion, a bit of dry chopping. Vitamix, both of them actually, you can wet and dry chop. There's different techniques to do so, but in this particular video we're going to be dry chopping an onion, and what I've done is actually placed a rather large onion in each of the containers. We're going to be using the 2 litre standard containers here. Now there's different techniques. Vitamix will say open up the top section there and actually drop sections of chopped onion into the machine to chop it up. I don't want to do that in these. I want to show the capacity of these blenders to actually just chop an onion from whole, because if you're chopping an onion into sections to drop it into a machine to chop up, what's the point in dropping it into a machine to chop up? You've already started the chopping process, you might as well finish it by with a knife. So we've peeled the onions, we put the whole thing in, and we're just going to run the blend for a few seconds to see how these machines cope with just chopping an onion from scratch. Just going to get straight on and do it. So as per the Vitamix instructions, when you're dropping it in, you can use different variables. The lower the speed, the bigger the chunks, of course. The higher the speed, the finer the chunk. So what I'm going to do is turn the machine on, and we will run this at about half speed, variable 5, and about mid-range on the touch slider on the Quantum, and just see what happens with these onions in these jugs. Get straight on. It's an interesting one to see, because a lot of blenders can say they chop, but they can't. So let's do this and see. So we'll start with the Vitamix first. I'm just going to put it straight to variable 5, just to prove and make this fair. Variable 5, and just to make sure it's perfect. Variable 5, and we're going to just get straight on and chop this onion. Okay, well, it looked like I did a good job there. Right, now we'll chop with the Quantum. So we're just going to put it onto a low to medium speed and just get straight on and do it. So we'll just... And that's finished as well. I've got to say that that took 4 seconds. That was 5 or 6 seconds as well. Look, both of them, from looking from the outside, look like they've both chopped, or they've done something to that onion in only a matter of seconds. I'm not going to start being picky between whether it took 4 seconds or 7 seconds or whatever. That was a matter of seconds for both machines to actually do something with them onions. So what I'm going to do, as I've said before, I can actually lift this lid off one-handed and show you inside here for the onion of the Quantum. It's a bit more difficult to actually do. Oh no, I did it that time. Vitamix did one-handed. So what we'll do is get these out and see how this is performed. Now I'm scraping it up. This is the Vitamix. It's generally done a good job, to be fair. Underneath the blade looks a little bit more pureed, but I'm being picky, really. I mean, that's chopped. The older Vitamixes, they used to have to sort of drop them in, have the blades running and then drop the onion in. I've just used a whole onion. Now that's quite a big chunk unchopped. Be interesting to see if I just get some chunks out. That's an unchopped section that you're going to have to do some more with. So it hasn't fully done that bit, but I'm not, I'm being a little bit picky and pedantic, because generally that is chopped. That is chopped. There's a big chunk there, and there's a couple of big chunks, but generally, no, that's done a pretty good job, the Vitamix. So onto the Quantum. Okay, so I'll just get a couple of scoops out here. Now you notice I'm using this specially designed spatula. It is actually shaped to get in and around the jugs and the blades. I've said it in other videos. Actually, this comes with the Touch 3 Quantum, and I just think it's slightly funny that I'm using it to scoop things out of the Vitamix. The Vitamix doesn't come with one of these, and it is a handy handy little spatula to help you scoop things out without actually marking the jug. You don't want to be using utensils to scoop things out. So I've just pulled a few. I did it from all sections. I've tried to keep that fair. So okay, the difference between the two here. Move that to one side. So this was the Vitamix. This was the Touch-Free Quantum. So you can see a rather large part there. I've blended them for about the same length of time. The Touch-Free Quantum was about 4 seconds. This was a little bit longer, maybe 5 or 6 seconds. That is a large chunk of onion not chopped. Then the majority of the rest of the onion is chopped. So, I mean, if you did it again, maybe that would be chopped this time. Maybe it was just a one-off for this test. But, you know, that has a large chunk of onion that hasn't been chopped. The Quantum has the Touch-Free Quantum has a lot more uniform chop gone on there. That's probably the biggest bit. I'll use my fingers. That's probably the biggest unchopped bit. Well, you can see the difference. That's quite big on the Vitamix. That's not so bad on the Quantum, but the majority of the onion is a lot more evenly chopped than on the Vitamix. So I actually expected the Vitamix to do a little bit better on this one. The 4-piece blade maybe isn't quite so good at chopping more uniform. The Quantum here, the Touch-Free Quantum, has made a much better uniform job of chopping up an onion in only, I've got to say, in only 4 seconds. This was a few seconds. You couldn't run it for any longer because essentially once it's chopped and the onion's been pressed to the outside of the jug, it's not then going to touch that unless you scoop it back in again. It may have just been unlucky in this test, but in this particular test, you can actually see that actually if I scoop these out, yeah, the actual JR, the Touch-Free Quantum, has made a better job of an all-round chop compared to what is a large chunk and then some bits and pieces. This will still work. I mean, apart from that bit, you're still going to get a chopped onion in that, but the JR Quantum has performed better and done a better job of chopping an onion in this test. And of course, you don't just have to chop onion, chop carrots, cabbage, things like that. So for this test, chopping, dry chopping, that is a tick for the JR Touch-Free Quantum and the way that's chopped the onion. So next test done, we'll do some more. Check back for the next snippet. If you're watching this in the long video, see you in the next part.